When I first decided to read your book, Lovingkindness, I was so embarrassed about reading a book called Lovingkindness that I hid it under magazines on airplanes and other books. And I don't think I'm alone in terms of having a little bit of squeamishness around whatever lovingkindness is. You're laughing, so...
I'm laughing because it's like pornography or something. It's like you're hiding the book cover.
It's not nearly as exciting as pornography, just for the record.
It depends.
People have some sort of squeamishness around it. Why do you think that is?
I think the word is odd to begin with. I think in general we have an association with love, with kindness, as sort of secondary virtues. And I often think, the culture tells us if you can't be brilliant, you can't be courageous, and you can't be wonderful. It's like, okay, be kind, it's nice, it's not great, but it's good.
So you think people think that there's a weakness inherent in being kind or compassionate?
A weakness and a foolishness, like you're going to be kind of stupid and gullible, and you're going to be sort of a doormat. You're going to let people hurt you, and you're just going to sort of smile, or you're going to let other people be hurt or abused or oppressed, and you're going to kind of smile. And I think people really, deep down, think it makes you kind of stupid. But I think it is of greatness. I think that if we recollect somebody who's been really kind to us in a genuine way in our lives, we don't think of them with contempt, like I pulled one over on you. It's with quite a lot of gratitude. And I don't think we begin to understand the strength and the power and the force of those qualities.
My concern was that it's just so touchy-feely, ooey-gooey, squishy, that it just made me uncomfortable. It just felt like something that we get lectured about in kindergarten. And that I ignored anyway, but I was kind of a jerk as a kid. But the thing that really turned me around, there are a number of things that really turned me around, but one of them is the science.
What the science shows us is that qualities like loving kindness or compassion actually make us happier, and that means we're more resilient and we have more inner resource, and we can hang in there in very difficult situations in a much more sustained way. And so some of the most interesting science, I think, has to do with people in very stressful situations, first responders, caregivers, things like that. And to understand that these are very adverse circumstances where you're seeing a lot of suffering, and you need a sense of inner resource to be able to continue on and do your work.
So, that goes right to the point. Rather than being a weakness, what the science is showing us is that compassion, loving kindness is actually a strength.
Yeah.
In fact, for people who aren't first responders or doctors or in jobs where you run the risk of empathy burnout, there are studies that show that compassion makes you healthier, happier, more popular, and more successful. So this is, if you're interested in being a high achiever in any way, this stuff, as ooey-gooey as it may seem on the surface, is actually super important. Let's talk about the actual practice. Okay, so this is a different kind of practice than mindfulness meditation, although they are related and complementary. So just walk us through the basics of what this practice entails.
Sit comfortably, eyes open or closed, however you feel most at ease. Choose certain phrases like, may I be safe, be happy, be healthy, live with ease, and begin repeating them silently over and over again. And then maybe the third step is to understand that there will be several different applications, and that we offer this to ourselves, we offer it to other people or beings that we know, and then ultimately we will end up with all of life.
You've heard me say this before, but the actual practice struck me initially as Valentine's Day with a machete to my throat. It felt like you're envisioning these people, you're visualizing various people in your life and then sending them goodwill or good vibes. The thing that made me willing to do it is that you pointed out you don't actually have to force a feeling. You just have to try. So can you just walk me through the basics of the practice?
Yeah, that's kind of my particular thing. I really emphasize that a lot. There are ways in which, say, thinking about ourselves at the end of the day, we can pretty well only focus on the mistakes we've made and the things we said wrong, and that really stupid thing we said at lunch, at the meeting, so much so that our whole sense of who we are and all that will ever be like collapses around that really stupid comment. So the process of loving kindness is like paying attention to a bigger picture. It's not denying, maybe that really was a stupid thing we said at lunch, at the meeting, and there are consequences to that, but that's not all that we are. And so can we reflect on a bigger sense of who we are, not only paying attention to the negative while not denying it. And so loving kindness practice is attention training, and we guide our attention, or we expand our attention usually through the silent repetition of certain phrases. It's the way we pay attention differently. And maybe there's a feeling, maybe there's no feeling. Honestly, I don't think it matters.
Because, and this is the heart of the matter for me as a skeptic who can't believe he now does this practice every day, it's not like we're stuck with our factory settings. Compassion is a skill that you can train just the way you can train, your bicep in the gym.
Yeah.
And that is huge.
Yeah. I sometimes call loving kindness practice a stretch, in that we are experimenting with looking at ourselves from different angles, looking at others in different ways, so that this person, say, we normally ignore, we look at. That's the experiment. It's a stretch. Or when we think of ourselves, we don't fall quite into the pit of only thinking about the mistake we've made, but we stretch. We kind of experiment with wishing ourselves well.